and gentlemen, boys and girls, channel agents, you are listening live to episode number 51 of the All Things Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. As always, Brandon Lewis, Joey Schneider here with you.
I love when you get hyped up like that, Brandon. It's my favorite thing in the world. It really is. How you doing, buddy?
You know, I am doing okay. Was able to finally, sit down and watch some basketball last night, though it doesn't count. And I absolutely hate the preseason. At least we finally got to see and confirm / wonder a few things. And it felt good just to get some basketball under our plate before the season starts in 2 weeks.
I agree 100%. You know, we've been waiting for so long to kick off this season. And even though you don't consider preseason as actual NBA season time, it still is a time for us to kind of see where some players are at. And, we got to see a little bit of what people were talking about throughout this offseason last night. I do want to kick things off a little bit, and maybe don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but I want to say Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell looked very good together in the backcourt. I believe they had something like 28 points and 10 rebounds between the two of them. They only played, 15, 16 minutes, but they look damn good.
They did. And I will tell you this, and that is what we're going to see from this 82 game campaign that the Cavs are about to endure in the next 2 weeks. Number one, the Cavs as a team are going to be better, but just offensively, the Cavs are going to be so freaking good because, as we have talked about over and over since the Mitchell trade, Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland now can bounce off one another. They're on the same team. They're on the same court together. They don't have to worry about carrying the team over and over and over again to try to produce each night. It's going to make the Cavs more dangerous. And as we know, the Cavs need to score more points than they did last year.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, the backcourt looked great, and it's preseason, so we don't really know 100% what it's going to look like on opening night, and with the crowd and everything. But preseason's preseason. It's practice. It's basically a practice game. We know what it is, but they look great. We didn't get a chance to see Evan Mobley. Obviously, he's out for 1 to 2 weeks with an ankle injury, and we hope that he heals up fine. He's supposed to be completely fine for opening night. And I will say Isaac Okoro, who we have heard a lot about, recently, Donovan Mitchell, chimed in and said that Isaac Okoro looked really good. And I will say that Okoro looked a lot more comfortable with his offense last night than I think he probably ever has. He still went 0 for 2 from 3, but at least he's got the confidence to put the shots up. He was very, very timid last year when he needed to be. He scored 7 points. His dribble looked a lot better. And I think that, that'll just grow throughout the preseason and throughout the season. But, we got a little bit of taste of that last night. We saw Karis LeVert. We saw Kevin Love. Overall, they lost the game by 1 point, but who cares? It's a preseason game. And, whoever wants to talk trash can, like Montrezl Harrell, thinking it's a playoff game. Go ahead. Did you talk that trash, Montrezl Harrell?
That's why I wanted Montrezl Harrell on the Cavs to begin with, man.
For what? So we can brag about winning a preseason game by 1 in a game that half of the players on the Cavs aren't even going to be on the team come regular season.
Oh man. Well, you know what? I will say, I think my biggest takeaway from this game is those Cavs new uniforms look pretty nice.
They do look nice. Yeah.
So, but I mean, I think in general, you're right. Okoro, he only went 2 for 5 from the field last night, but you could still see the more aggressiveness, the less timid, especially going to the basket. He just looks a lot more comfortable on the court. And I think, again, we'll see how long it's going to take, everybody to merge with Donovan Mitchell, though it looked like obviously last night, it looked almost seamless. If the Cavs, if they continue at this offensive pace, if they put up anywhere from 110 to 120 points a game, which, sometimes last year felt like a real struggle to get that 110 mark, I think in today's NBA, with all the openness and all the 3-point shooting, all the shooting, it used to be if you got to do 100 points, as back in the day, 100 points, you were pretty safe to win victories, and the Cavs obviously did a great job defensively. But as we know, at the end of the year, teams get better, right? Offenses get better as we get later into the season. So I think the Cavs are going to need to continue this offensive firepower because I thought a lot of times, to be quite frank, last year they put a little bit too much on the defensive side of the ball. I think that they were really counting on shutting down people, and I guess not necessarily focus too much on the offensive end, if you will, to they kind of felt like, I guess where I'm getting at is 100 points is kind of where they needed to be. I think you got to get to about that 105, 110 mark, and I'm hoping that the addition of Mitchell will kind of be that to put them over the hump to win the games that they really should have won last year. They just could not close.
Yeah, I wish there were topics that we disagreed on sometimes, but yeah, this is another one of those things where we've talked about this last year. There was games where they lost because they ran out of gas and they didn't have the offensive firepower. We were hoping that LeVert in the second half of the year would be the guy that would step up and do that. And unfortunately, we found out not too long ago that he was playing last year hurt for the majority of the back end of the year. And on top of that, we lost Allen, we lost Mobley. Garland was in and out with his back injuries, and we just didn't have the firepower. Having Mitchell is going to allow us to have that firepower. And I agree with you, 105, 110, maybe even more points. It's going to be really hard to stop this Cavs team. But, watching that game last night, and, Mobley wasn't there, but that Mobley is going to be Mobley, and we'll touch on that in a minute. But it seems like our front court is set. It seems like our back court is set. And the question that we all want to know the answer to, and we've talked about this, and we're only going to talk about it a little bit here, but who starts at small forward?
I will tell you real quick. I was surprised that Okoro did not get the start last night.
I was too,
because I was under the impression, and I think you were too. Again, we've heard, Donovan Mitchell, came out again this week and said Okoro has, really put in the work. He looks really good in the gym this summer. So I was under the impression that not that he was a shoe-in, obviously, for the small forward spot, that it was kind of his job to lose, if you will. And LeVert, I kind of thought was more set to come off the bench unless Okoro had a really bad camp, and LeVert, clearly took that spot from him. But LeVert got the first chance last night, and he looked pretty good. So maybe, there's something that we don't know there. But I mean, your thoughts on the small forward position?
Well, they have said that LeVert has looked the best that he ever has this offseason. He's had both players and coaches say that. So he's also getting praise from players and coaches. So, this is, I don't know what to make of it at times, because looks great. Then you have players saying, "Oh, LeVert looks great." Then you have the coaches coming out saying Dean Wade looks phenomenal, and maybe that's where they're going to go. We just don't know. This is preseason. Maybe next game they're going to start Okoro or they're going to start Dean Wade. We don't know what's going to happen. I think that starting three role is still kind of up for grabs. I think they have three options there between Dean Wade, Okoro, LeVert. Maybe it's just going to be a matchup thing where on different nights against different teams, you're going to start a different small forward. Wade can hit the three. He's got the height. Okoro's a lockdown D. LeVert is kind of in the middle, can do a little bit of everything, create his own shot. We saw, him flashing really good defense last year as well. So, I think the Cavs don't have that big wing that most teams, are looking for, especially when you're talking about very successful teams. Because if you look at it, you got like the Luka Doncic's and the Giannis's who, someone who's a point forward, or, the LeBrons, the KDs, and the list goes on and on of, small forwards in the NBA. But, they have three good options, I think, that are going to make that can make an impact. And I think having Donovan Mitchell in the backcourt with Garland is going to make the small forwards job a lot easier for whoever they do start.
Yeah, my only concern with them just rotating guys, and we have talked about this again, how how many times too. Is I think eventually though somebody is going to take over that spot, and I think it should be based off playing time. Again, they may rotate based off matchups early on in the season, but I also think players are creatures of habit. Players want to know, are they starting? Are they coming off the bench? How many minutes are they playing? And so while competition is good, and I agree, if you're playing a Giannis, if you're playing a LeBron, some nights you may want to throw a bigger body in there. But I also think this is where Evan Mobley's strength, and we've seen Mobley looking absolutely jacked, to kind of take on more of that weight in the interior. If you still wanted to go a little bit smaller on the wing, having those 2 7-footers in Mobley and Allen, I think a little bit will offset that.
Well, I think that we need to see what Mobley has done defensively as far as movement and maybe being a little more fluid, because people have been saying that he might be able to cover the 3. And if that's the case, you're going to see Mobley on Giannis. You might see Mobley on some of the bigger small forwards in the league. And that would be, if he's got that quicker step now, when we get a chance to see him, it's going to be something. I'm really excited, and I think that all Cavs fans should be very excited to see Evan Mobley. And there's a specific reason for that, Brandon. Why don't you go ahead and give us the Evan Mobley news?
Yeah, so of course, every year the NBA does an anonymous general manager poll, and this year the general managers have picked Evan Mobley to be the most likely breakout candidate for next season. Now, this is noteworthy because according to an article on USA Today, Joey, Evan Mobley is the first player to earn more than 20% of the vote since Karl-Anthony Towns did as much in 2018. Mobley also joins Towns, Devin Booker, and Anthony Davis as the only players to receive more than 20% of the voting share in any given year over the past decade. And I don't think that they have the exact number that Mobley was at, but for instance, last year, Jared Jackson led the way with 17% and the Edwards at 13%. I think it just goes to really show that number 4, our near 7-foot sensation, Evan Mobley, who me and you have both said is a phenomenal generational talent. If he stays healthy, and that is my only concern with Mobley at this point is health. And I am a little bit worried on Mobley because this is his second big injury now in his second season with the team. But if that man stays healthy, and we've seen it with many superstars throughout the current iteration of the NBA, that sometimes it just comes down to health. But if he is healthy, Evan Mobley will be a freak of nature. And I think very well by the end of this season, we do have Darius Garland, we have Donovan Mitchell, we have Jared Allen. But if Mobley takes that leap that we think he could, Mobley, it's like picking straws, but Mobley really could be the Cavs' best player by the end of the season. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you. I don't think that he is just going to be the best, that he could just be the best player. I think that he could be the reason the Cavs make a deep playoff run and maybe even to the championship. I think that if he turns into what all of us think he's going to be, if he's that guy, a 7-footer who can guard the 3, the 4, the 5, who can knock down the 3, who can jump out of the building, which we saw him do last year, who's ferocious on defense, if he gets that killer instinct like we've talked about all year last year that he needed more of, he can be the reason the Cavs make that deep playoff run. If he is that guy, then Donovan Mitchell, Garland, Allen, whoever you want to throw in the 3, it just, that's the thing about having a player like that. That's the thing about having a team like this, is that you have Garland, who was an all-star last year. You have Allen, all-star last year. Donovan Mitchell, all-star last year. You got all these guys who are all-stars, who are some of the best players in the league that are on the same team. And if they play and the chemistry is right, and I know you're big on chemistry, You take that pressure off of each other. And when that pressure isn't there and you're playing good, the ball's flying around, you're playing good basketball, you're finding the open guy and they're knocking down the shots. That's where this team is going to succeed. And I think that they know it. I know JB Bickerstaff, is going to have them on point. And if Mobley takes that next step and Garland takes that next step and Allen takes that next step and Mitchell, only 26 years old, is already a star. I mean, it's a very, very, very scary team. And I wanted to know how scary the fans thought the Cavs are. So I did a Twitter poll today, Brandon, and everyone, I just want to, thank you for taking part in all of our Twitter polls and letting us know what you think. We really appreciate all the support. But the tweet was, honest expectations for the Cleveland Cavs this season. I went 44 wins or less because they won 44 games last year. So did they think that they're going to be worse or at the exact same as last year? 45 to 50 wins, 51 to 59 wins, or 60 plus wins. Only 1% said they think 44 wins. Only 1% of Cavs fans think that they're going to be equal to or less than what they were last year. And I don't know how they could possibly be less than they were last year because this team has done nothing but get better.
Unless the whole team gets into a freak accident.
Yeah.
I think we
I am
both
knocking.
agree.
I am knocking on wood. How dare you say that, sir?
The upgrades. Now again, this is on paper. It's all on paper.
It always is.
We've had nothing to talk about for 6 months. We were talking about hypotheticals for 6 months. But yes, the Cavs are better than what they were at the end of last season that we're setting into this season.
So I will say the winner with 42% was 45 to 50 wins. So they think we're gonna improve, but just modestly. Okay. But only 1% less, 41% said 51 to 59 wins, which is a very, very big season. And a very healthy 16% of Cavs fans think that they're going to win 60 or more games this season. That would be absolutely amazing. But I love, and I'm going to say this. I love Cavs fans and I really love Cavs Twitter because we are extremely realistic, an extremely realistic fan base. We don't think
out of all three, they definitely are. Just thinking about it, yeah.
I think Guardians fan base is a little, could get a little testy at times. Browns are in
a different atmosphere.
Browns Twitter is another. That's its own universe, and I love every single one of you Browns fans. But some of you guys are, I'm a giant Browns fan, Brandon. But good Lord, some of the people in the Browns Twitterverse are just crazy. But Cavs fans are just extremely realistic. We can't wait for this season to start. We're dying to see how good this team can be. But we also know there's a lot of good teams in the East. There's a lot of good teams in the West. And you have 83% said let's be realistic, somewhere between 45 and 59 games. I'm going to go with that, because those were the biggest, 16% going pipe dream, 60 plus wins, which you never know. This team is one of those teams you could say it's the possibility.
Yeah.
I would be 100% shocked if they lost, they lost more games than they did last year.
I agree. Can I tell you which one I voted for? Well, can you guess which
I'm going to say you voted for the 45 to 50.
No, I did not.
What'd you vote for?
I went 51 to 59.
Oh, wow.
I think that this Cavs team, and I wrote about this week on BelieveInMediaLFC.com. You can go check out my article right now. I think that this Cavs team has a real opportunity this year. I have seen some models, and I think they're absolutely crazy. There are some models that I've seen, and most of them are more analytically based and projected, that have the Cavs as the 8th seed in the East.
They had Zach Lowe came out and said he believes that the Cavs are going to be a play-in team.
And I said, wait a minute. I am looking at this Eastern Conference, and you, as my co-host, you've been very honest with me from day one. So you can tell me if I'm crazy. But I look at this East and I think, well, Boston, I get Boston is really good with talent, but I think there's something going on there with Boston internally. What's going on with Ime Udoka and the head coaching situation? That I already have bad vibes around Boston this year. I don't think Boston's going to be as formidable as they were last season. Miami, I think that they're kind of old. They got Jimmy Butler, Bam on a bio. I don't even know if they're necessarily this year better than what the Cavs have if the Cavs are healthy. Philly, it's time. Obviously Maxey looked really great last night. I think he's becoming their second best player, but who knows what James Harden's going to be? And Joel Embiid is special and great, but can he stay healthy and play? All 82 games, and we haven't seen Philly get over that hump yet. Toronto is certainly good, but they're not better than the Cavs, I don't think. Atlanta upgraded with DeJounte Murray, but I don't think that they're necessarily better than the Cavs right now on paper. So I look at it, and to me, there's no reason why the Cavs can't be a top four. And I think you can make an argument the Cavs could be right behind Milwaukee as the second seed in the East.
Yeah, I don't know if they're basing everything off of what if everyone stays healthy, because Boston only got better. Boston brought all their players back and they upgraded by bringing in Malcolm Brogdon. So that's actually scary because Brogdon's a great player. How good is Atlanta going to be with Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, John Collins? They still have. I mean, that's a very good team. If those two mesh really well, DeJounte Murray's a walking triple-double, and Trae Young can put up 40 points on any given night. You don't know. So if you're going based on, how good can a team be if all their players are playing their very best, there's a lot of teams I could see going, well, you know what? I don't know how good Evan Mobley is going to be. I don't know how good Darius Garland's going to be. So, but we have seen DeJounte Murray at his best. We've seen Trae Young at his best. We've seen a lot of these other players at their very best. So if you're going at that, if you look at the Nets, what if Ben Simmons plays, how he did in Steve Nash came out and said, I don't care if he shoots a jump shot, as long as he just get to the rim, and which he can do. He's 6'10", he's a point forward. What if Kyrie Irving plays, Kevin Durant? So yeah, if you're looking at all these teams and going, okay, no injuries and everyone's going to play at an all-star level, yeah, okay, the Cavs are a little bit of an unknown in that situation. But I'm looking at this Cavs team going, if Evan Mobley takes that step and everything happens the way it's supposed to, I don't see a reason the Cavs wouldn't be a top 3 team, because their bench is deeper than most of these other teams, maybe with the exception of the Celtics. And I think that their starters, if they play up to their potential, I don't know if there's a team in the East that is actually on paper, if everyone played, takes that step, better than the Cavs.
I think Milwaukee just by a hair.
You are on this Milwaukee kick. They have 2 players. They have a superstar, an all-star, a borderline all-star, and you keep saying, I think the Cavs are better than the Milwaukee Bucks.
Listen,
Giannis
is the best player in basketball. Giannis is the best player in basketball. You added that Chris Middleton, who he is the only reason why they did not advance to the Eastern Conference.
I will take the Cavs every day of the week and twice on Sunday over the Milwaukee. I don't think the Bucks are even the best team I don't even know if they're a top 4 team in the East.
Wow. That might be your hot take of the podcast so far. Bucks are not a top 4 team in the East Coast. Well, obviously, we'll give our predictions.
The Bucks are always your number 1 team. I don't even know if I would pick them as a top. You know what? I would say they're the 4th team. If I'm ranking the teams, me personally, I would say the top 3 would be, and this is in no order, but I would say Philly, Boston, and Cleveland.
Wow.
And yes, and I'm putting Cleveland in there. And you know what? I could swap it out. And I know that you're a little down on the Heat, and that I think the Heat are a little scary, and it's because Jimmy Butler's still playing at a high level. Tyler Hero, 6th man of the year, averaging 25 points off the bench. Bam Adebayo, one of the top 3 centers in the East, which I think it's Embiid. I think Bam's in there, and Jared Allen. I think that the Heat are, if Oladipo comes back 100%, he could do a lot of things. He's very scary as well. So, I can understand why the Heat are a scary team, and they're very well coached. But the Bucks, Giannis is a monster. I get it. But there's only one basketball. And honestly, Middleton's getting older. Drew Holiday's up there. I don't think.
I can't wait to hear your predictions. I don't know if we're gonna do next week or the week after. We're 2 weeks away from the season, but obviously last year I got the Eastern Conference completely wrong and got completely exposed. So we'll see. Maybe this year, I bounce back.
You were half wrong, because you were 100% wrong on the Cavs record, but you were right that they didn't make the playoffs.
You know what? I would say this for all you sports gamblers out there. Sports betting is legal here January 1st, 2023. I just looked it up because I was curious what the over-under win total for the Cavs was set at for this season. So remember, I think last year was 22 or something like that, correct?
I think it was 19.
It might have been 19.
Yeah, I think it was something ridiculous.
So this year, do you want to take a guess at what it is, or should I just tell you?
I'm going to say 38.
It's higher.
45.
Little higher.
47?
47 and a half.
Wow.
47 and a half. And I'm telling you right now, if sports betting was legal at this moment, full disclosure, I'm not saying how much money, do whatever you want with your money.
Bet the farm, baby. Bet the farm.
But I would be willing to hammer the over on that for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think, again, barring massive, injury for every team in the league, barring that, I think that there is no reason why this Cavs team could not get to at least 50 wins, which is the complete opposite of what I said approximately 1 year ago.
Yeah, 1 year ago, you were so wrong on the Cavs win total.
We talked about this a little bit. I have gone from literally the Cavs have no direction. They're gonna stink. They're gonna tank in to get another lottery draft pick. They're saying, yeah, you know what? The Cavs can win the title. Like in 1 year, the stance, the take is completely flipping, and it's a credit to everybody else involved. Cavs, by the way, for the record, have 3 more preseason games before we head to the regular season. Monday night at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. It'll be our first look at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse for the 2022-2023 season. That'll be at 7 o'clock. Wednesday night, they will take on Trae Young and those Atlanta Hawks. That will also be at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse at 7 o'clock. And then Friday night, October 14th, Orlando Magic in Orlando, Florida. That will be the final tune-up. And then they will have 5 days before they go across the north of the border. Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes. Over tonight, Evan Mobley looking to prove that he will be that breakout player of the year when he hopefully will play opening night.
Brandon, they're getting that win. Oh, they're going to get that win. They want the smoke this year. They want all the smoke. They want everyone. No one's going to underestimate the Cavs this year. They did that last year, and we saw what happened. They got hurt at the end of the year. All those holes are patched up. They're fixed. We got some players to back up every single. We have players upon players on that bench. It's so deep. I think that the Cavs are going to have a monster season. We are going to be talking about more preseason next week and gearing up for the NBA regular season to start. Probably do some predictions, some other fun stuff. So make sure you check out the next episode. Episode number 52, by the way, 1 year anniversary. Brandon, it is crazy that we are here, but it is just around the corner. Buddy, there is only one thing left to do, and you know what it is.
Well, before we go today, actually, before we go, I'm not going to say let them know yet, because I want to give one big shout out to a team that, depending on what time you are listening to this, may or not be playing tomorrow at the corner of Carnegie in Ontario.
Oh,
let's all go support our Cleveland Guardians. Of course, our Guardians of the CLE podcast with Mel and James. They are actually covering a playoff team. The youngest team in baseball, along with the youngest team in AAA, will be hopefully beating down the Tampa Bay Rays tomorrow at 12:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So instead of let them know this episode, how about we give them a little for the land? For the land, and we'll see you guys next week on ATC.